Hello, and welcome to the Life of an Entrepreneur. I'm Jan McCarthy with Entrepreneurial Voice, and we are here today to talk about what it's like to be an entrepreneur and share resources and tips and all kinds of things about what your life is like. And we are Real Radio on the internet. We're here every Tuesday at 11 a.m. at skidrowstudios.com, and welcome everyone to tune in and listen to our entrepreneurs to find out a little bit more about what entrepreneurial life is like. If you have questions, you can give us a call at 1-800-893-9562. And today I'm super excited. I'm interviewing Stacy Coleman and Kim, and they're with Gravel Pit Music. And what you guys do is music licensing and supervision.
That is right.
Okay, so I don't know what all of those things mean, but I'm really excited to find out a little bit more about it. And the way we met was just really random and really cool. And we met in a furniture design store and got to talking. And I said, "Hey, you sound really interesting. Why don't you come and be on my radio show?" So very, very excited that you all are here. So
we are excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
So, Kim, why don't you get started? Just how did this come to be, and what is it that you do specifically? What does all of that mean?
Well, I'll start. Stacy here. It's Gravel Pit Music is a music publishing, licensing, supervision company. Basically, we find great bands and talent out there in the world, all over the world. We have artists all over the world, and we sign them to publishing deals and representation deals, and we take their music and license it to movies and TV shows, commercials, video games, you name it. We try to get our music in there. So all media, all music, and just really great bands.
That sounds really
fun.
Really cool. So how did you get started? How did you all started at the same time, your partners? You started at the same time. You just had this brainstorm idea. Let's take us back on the journey.
Well, we started Gravel Pit Music a year and a half ago down here. We run our business out of our loft down here, which is great. Love loft living and working from home. It's fantastic.
Downtown Los Angeles?
Yes. Yeah. Kim's my girlfriend. She helps me out. She does all the research and development. She finds the projects, and I do the creative side mostly. All the contacts we have are mostly like mine that I've had for the last 9 years. I started doing this 9 years ago with a company called Windswept that was in Beverly Hills. They were the #1 independent music publishing company in the world at the time. And they called me up from good old Utah and asked me if I'd come out and help them out.
So how did they find out about you? I mean, did you just know that this is, obviously, I'm assuming you've always loved music. Is this something you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, I've always loved music. Like when I was a kid growing up, I always, you watch movies, you watch TV shows, and you always think, well, the music in that was really cool. That would be so awesome to be able to be that person to do that. But I never really knew that was an actual job that you could have, So I never really paid attention to it and really kind of forgot about it, and went to college and got into communications, and I had a radio show that I did, that just like an alt rock radio station, and I had a syndicated show that went through southern Utah and down in Las Vegas. And my former employers at Windswept heard my radio show, and it was also an internet radio show as well, and they heard it and called me up and said, we want you to come out here to California and help us, California and set up a radio station so we can promote the bands we're signing. So I came out here, met with them, and a week later moved out here, and we set up Honeypot Radio, and it's been going strong since 2005. I worked with them for 3 years on it, and so I set the radio show up in about 2 weeks, and after that, they taught me the ropes of music publishing and licensing, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. Wow. So that's really crazy. So you said, at what point was it that you said, okay, I know what I need to know? Because a lot of us just kind of keep doing it, even though, because it's a very scary thing to go from someone else having all that responsibility and kind of being in charge, even if you're doing everything, to taking that leap of faith and saying,
right,
yeah, I can do this. I can do this.
Well, like I said, I started 9 years ago at Windswept, and I worked with my boss we worked there for 2 years until the company got bought out by Bug Music, and we started his own company called Honeypot Radio, Honeypot Publishing, and we worked there for another 3 years together. And it was just the two of us, really boutique, small shop, and I felt like I learned everything I could from him. He was a great mentor, and I thought that it was a little time to take the next step. There really wasn't anywhere to go with just two people in the company, the owner and yourself, So I actually got approached by a startup company called Songs for Film and TV, who hired me on to be their vice president and start them up. And I did that for 2 years. And after I got their company going and stuff, I was like, okay, I know how to do this. I have all the contacts. I know the lingo. I know the know-how, and it's time to do this for myself instead of doing it for the man, so to speak.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. So at that point, I decided, I always knew I wanted to have my own business. I was kind of always scared to do it, like you said, and just things happened to put it into play and put it into motion. And we're like, hey, we're going to start this. And last August. So about a year and a half ago. It's been fantastic. Love it.
So that was actually one of my questions. Did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Did you have either of you, did you have a background of parents or friends? I mean, I know with your boss and that kind of thing. So you kind of got in on the ground floor and got to see it from there. But was there someone that was always kind of that you looked at and said, this is what I want to do. I want to be an entrepreneur. What was your influence there?
Yeah, my parents are entrepreneurs. They have my dad has a trucking company, Coleman Trucking, and I watched him my whole life. When I was small, he worked for a different trucking company. When I was about probably about 12, he started his own, and he was a dump truck hauler, and then he went to flatbed hauling, and he did the whole trucking circuit thing, and he still does it to this day. And just the pride he took in his job and owning his own company and in doing his service and delivering his loads on time and everything. He's very prideful of it, and I really, really was inspired by that and thought, I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to have something that I can take and grow and have something of my very own. And
so you really got to see firsthand how he went about and established relationships
exactly.
and provided excellent customer service and met deadlines and did all of those kind of things. How about you, Kim?
No, actually, my mom did run her own daycare business out of the house. So I was raised with a mom that stayed at home, and then my dad works more a government job. So
that's very different.
It's very, very different. And I always worked as a hairstylist in a salon. So for me, this is a huge, huge change to even be in the music industry and then be out on my own. But I am super, super excited. It's kind of a stress in a different way, I would say.
Yeah.
Where we start our morning with work and we end our night with work, and whatever comes in, then we're willing to take it. But it's also the best move ever we've made in life that I have.
Well, even working as a hairdresser, I mean, that's certainly entrepreneurial.
Yes.
So you kind of, and you went from school right into that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to do hair.
So you've really been an entrepreneur. So you really had a lot of skills that would help you transition to that as well.
Yes.
So that's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
And did you, I assume that you probably, I mean, of course you all are together, but you obviously must have a love and have an ear and to be able to do all of the research and find the right people.
Yeah, I quite enjoy it. And I, on my own time, love to research. I say I'm like the PI of the music industry. So for me, I have a blast doing
Private investigator. I love it.
Yes.
I love that.
It's fun.
Now, how do you find these? I mean, and I'm not that up to date on everything, but used to, there was MySpace. Does that even exist anymore?
Not too much, no.
So really a great venue for someone to put their music out there. And of course we have YouTube. Yeah. How do you find these artists, these musicians?
A huge thing, musicians, it's different music blogs. There's tons and tons and tons of independent music blogs. There's bigger music blogs all day long about music.
For everything.
For everything. Yep. Twitter's also a wonderful resource for finding supervisors and finding different bands. That's a big thing. And then Stacy's kind of grown the company so well that people are now seeking us out and emailing us and contacting us, where we're not having to find the bands as much. So I'm more able to focus on finding projects for what TV shows are in production, where they're at in production, movies, all of that. So I'm really kind of focusing more on looking for the different projects right now than the bands themselves.
So does that come into more of the supervision role then, where you all come in and they already have the band and they already have the show, but you come in and supervise that whole project?
Well, it's more like we're the publishing company, so we represent the artist. So we find the music, and then we in turn work hand in hand with the music supervisor who's been hired to do that project. So the supervisor will come to me and say, okay, this is our scene. This is kind of what we're feeling we want here. Or they'll give me like an example of a song that they want and might not have the money to clear. They'll say, what do you have that sounds like this, does the same vibe? And I'll send them over a dozen or so ideas, and they can listen to it and try to figure out what song they want to use. So we work hand in hand with the supervisor and let them take the creative from there after we send the songs to them, and they can pick the ones they think will work best. And they send it on up the ladder to the director and the producer, and then from there the song gets picked.
Oh, that's fascinating. And I don't know if it was because I knew I was interviewing you today or not, but I watched The Bachelor last night. My big guilty pleasure there. But it was interesting because I don't know that I've ever noticed that they did this before. So maybe they've been doing it all along. But like I said, I knew I was going to interview you today. And I noticed like some of the contestants were walking off the show dejected, all of that. They started playing these songs, and I thought, wow, that must be new. That must be what Stacy and Kim do.
That's what we do,
you know?
yeah.
And they must have said, well, this person's going to be feeling really crappy whenever they get the boot. What song can come in and
give us some that pulls your heartstrings,
yeah,
makes you feel real bad.
Make you start crying right along with them.
Yep, that's exactly what we do. So yeah, keeping an ear out for all those kind of songs and knowing what they are and how to send them, who to send them to. It's how we get in place. So
it takes a lot of skills, though. I mean, I would imagine, because for you, you can't just keep all of that in your head necessarily, and especially when they're new artists. I mean, obviously, if they're someone that's been around for a while, their style and their genre and that kind of thing. But so you must have really great organizational skills, and you probably have to have folders that allow you to do you categorize it by, sad or heartbroken or excited, new love?
Kind of, yeah. We run it all through iTunes. So, I mean, we make separate folders for each band is put in its own genre, and by indie or popular. And then through there, we just listen to the songs over and over and over again. We're constantly listening to music all day long from sun up to sundown. And it's just from there, like, you get to find your favorites, so you know which ones they're probably the ones that are most syncable. So those ones always stay in mind. And then you just tag songs in like the metadata, if you need a quick search. That's one great thing about iTunes. If you tag it as something once and you search it, it's going to pop up every time. And so it makes it really quick and easy and very organized, yeah. So
now, do you have musical talent? Do you play any instruments, sing, anything like that?
Kim's an amazing singer in the shower.
Amazing.
I'm going to start recording her pretty soon so we can start pitching her.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Not really. I used to play around with the guitar a little bit, not very good at it though. So I DJ'd back in the day. That was my musical instrument. So,
well, that's a really important musical instrument, and these days that's almost more important than the band.
These days it is, yes.
Yeah, really. Who would have ever thought
Mm-hmm.
that it could grow in that direction? Well, I think it's really exciting that you took the leap. So you started your business, but what about all the things that you have to do? All those business things that you have to do when you start your business. Did you go to your dad for advice? Had you taken a few classes? Did you just read up? Like, how do you become an LLC, or are you a sole proprietor? How do you keep records? Or I don't know if those are your skills necessarily, but how did you transition and do all of those things? Because sometimes, just that fear of the fact that, yeah, well, I'm really good at music and I know all that, but that other stuff, man, that's scary. I don't know what to do with that, Yeah,
that's definitely one of the big nail biters before we started, was like, okay, like you said, I know music, I know how to do this job. Can I run my own business? And I thought, yes, I definitely can, from working with the past employers and really helping starting their companies from the ground up. I started with 2 separate companies from ground zero, and they turned into fantastic companies, and I learned all those things on the business side you need to do. Like, do I want to be an LLC? Do I want to be a sole proprietor? Do I want to do this? And did a lot of research online. Thank God for Google, you know. And
Yes, I don't even know what we did before then.
I know, right? Everything's Google. Just Google it. So yeah, that's what we did. Did a lot of research that way and decided that we were going to be just a small, just sole proprietorship, and we didn't want to get so big that we needed to hire employees and stuff, and thought that we could really keep it to the size so that it would just be the two of us being able to run this and really make something for ourselves and watch it grow. And I think we were doing a pretty good job.
It sounds like it. Why don't you tell the name of your company is Gravel Pit.
Gravel Pit Music, yeah.
And that's that's your website.
GravelPitMusic.com, yep.
Yeah. You've got quite an impressive array of shows and places that you've placed your music.
Thank you.
There was a question I was going to lead into that. How did you come up with the name?
Well, few things. Gravel Pit was one of my very first jobs. I worked at a gravel pit when I was a kid. right before I moved off to college, I was the scale girl at a gravel pit next to my house, and I worked there for a summer saving money to go to college. And
scale girl, is that someone who weighs the gravel?
Yep. So
Okay.
the trucks would get loaded and come across the scale, and I'd have to make sure that it was all proportioned in their trucks right, and they weren't overweight, so they didn't get a ticket from the DOT. So I sat up there for a summer on my CB. And my guitar, my little black and white TV, and I just loved it. It was seriously one of my favorite jobs. It was kind of boring, but I had a lot of time to myself to do art and play the guitar and BS with the people on the CB, and that was a really good time. So I thought that was one of my very favorite jobs, and a foundation of everything kind of starts at a gravel pit. So we
right.
just encompassed the two and decided that would be the best name.
What a great story about how you got started, and you're right. It is just like the foundation of it all.
Yeah.
So is it hard when like new artists come, they know about you, so you're creating a reputation in the industry, so they come and look for you. Do they? Is that like a real? I'm assuming that's like a real growing trend. The music industry has changed so much.
Yes, drastically.
So going on tour. You don't hear about that way too often,
right.
or CD sales. I don't know how that, works. Are you involved in, do they come to you with a specific purpose, sometimes saying, this is really where I want to be, or is that like a starting place, or?
Yeah, I think they definitely come to us in mind with an intention in mind. I mean, like you said, record sales are completely different than they used to be back in the day, and a good way to really be able to break a song these days is by getting your song on a TV show or a movie, making it a theme song or just making it a big montage, a real memorable moment on the TV screen, So bands come to us thinking, okay, this will be a great way for us to break out, get people to know us. We can take the next step in our careers also by making money. There's some pretty good money in placing music. At the same time, is really, really bad money in placing the music. But they come to us with the intention of wanting to become more well known, while making money instead of just having to hit the road and tour all the time. And with having with that reputation of the music business and what we do with the licensing, we get a lot of submissions on a daily basis. I started the company with a core group of artists that I thought were just fantastic artists, and we just kind of grew from there. And we have about 70 artists on our roster right now, and they're excellent. We don't want to be
That's
too
like
small.
70 kids. Wow.
Yeah.
Keep them all in line.
We do. We sure do. And we didn't want to be so small that we had to turn away opportunities of needs. I want to be able to cover all the bases without having too many artists that people get left behind, and forgotten about. So we have about 70 right now, and those have came through like relationships with managers and stuff who have really great ears and signed great bands, and I've just continued to work with them over the years. But at the same time, with having the website and making a reputation for ourselves of being good at what we do, we get a lot of submissions, about 20, 30 a day, that we go through and see if they're good enough to be a part of the team. We have a pretty strict process these days since we are getting such a full catalog. But if it's
Sure.
Great music when you hear it, so if it's something that we think that we can really help their career and help ours, then we'll bring them on board.
Now, do you think shows like, and this has been kind of a while, but I remember that show One Tree Hill, where they really brought on a lot of bands, and they featured them in at the end. You could go and buy the iTunes and you really got to know who the band was. Whereas before, you kind of thought about the music in a TV show or a movie, that it was just kind of background. And it certainly played an important role in terms of creating a certain emotion, but it wasn't something that you really necessarily focused on. Whereas now, and maybe I'm wrong, but it appears that there are a lot of TV shows, and it seemed like One Tree Hill was one of the first that ever did that.
Yeah.
Kind of changed the music industry in that way.
Definitely. I think it went from a background music, like you said, where they just would hire composers, and you just have, not that composers are bad to have, but it would just be like just basic music in the background that you really wouldn't pay attention to. And when they started placing actual music that people would recognize from radio and that they could become fans of and really be able to follow them, is when it really got big, and it really opened the door for a whole new way of making money, and for lots of people, for the band and for the supervisors, for publishers like myself, and it's definitely grown since then. I mean, you can't turn on the TV without hearing song after song, and you're wondering, well, how do I find out who that band is? How do I download their music and stuff? And it's really helping bands grow. And a lot of TV shows are doing, like, at the end of the episode, like, they'll say, like, you can find the music heard in this episode, right. And they'll give the name of the band. They'll give a link to where you can find it and download it. So it's really helping out the bands for sure.
Well, I think it's really innovative, because we certainly all know that there was a time where you're thinking, is anyone ever going to be a musician anymore? Because it just wasn't profitable, and especially with the piracy of taking the songs, and it is so costly to go on tour. I mean, it's kind of like, I always think about when I look at the buildings downtown, and I go, you could not afford to build a building like that anymore, and same with bands. I mean, you just can't do what the bands did back in the day, because it is so costly, I would imagine, to go on tour that way.
Definitely.
So it seems like it really has such an innovation, and that's what you have to do as an entrepreneur. You're constantly trying to innovate. So is that something that you all are doing? Like, is there a new way that we can create avenues, or do you just kind of do what you do? Is it up to someone else to kind of think outside the box and think of those, like, I'm going to use One Tree Hill as an example, but is it something that you all can do, thinking outside the box and saying, okay, what's another way that we can introduce music to the world?
I think you always have to keep thinking outside the box, like you said, and trying to think of different avenues, because even since we've started, this company after company popping up all over, to the point that there's so many, there's so much music out there. So thinking of ways to be able to use our music and get it known and make money off of it is something we definitely are always thinking about. I don't think we've came up with that great idea yet, but our wheels are always turning.
Doesn't mean it won't happen before we leave the studio today, right?
Exactly. I hope it does. Yeah.
So what skills do you possess? We talked about organization, and that you obviously have to be that way. And I'd love to hear from you, Kim, and you, Stacy, as well. But what skills do you have that you think really help to prepare you to be a successful entrepreneur?
For me, I love to be organized.
Okay.
I have a pretty good memory, so I can remember a lot of small details. Especially I think for the both of us, keep us both in line.
Good.
I forget.
But I mean, I love, with my research, I just love to dig as deep and kind of whatever comes, more of a risk taker, I think, on some things, where I won't just hold myself to Twitter. I'm always trying to find out different avenues that I can look down as far as researching. And like you said, just have an open mind, I think, is one of the biggest things to succeed, and not just limit yourself with different websites that are out there. Like you said, even trying to develop something of your own, or just finding out what other people are currently doing and kind of expanding on that. So I think it's just not limiting yourself. And for my part of it, it's definitely staying organized.
Yeah, I think that's a great skill.
Yeah.
Now, do you, and I do want to find out what your skills are too, Stacy, but do you also, going off course just a little bit, because it made me think about it, when you hear other like you're watching a TV show. We talked about a few that we like. Orange is the New Black and
Oh, yeah, of course.
Breaking Bad. And maybe you've placed all of the songs on those shows.
Probably.
But if you're watching a show that you maybe didn't and you hear music, that you go, oh, wow, that artist is really, that musician is really, really good.
Oh, definitely.
Do you reach out and say, hey, who are you signed with? And, could we talk?
Yeah, most of the people that are placed on those TV shows already have somebody that they're either signed with or that are out there pitching their music for them. So once they're already on the TV shows, on the radio, something like that, they're kind of already spoken for. So we typically, we go to watch a lot of live music, go out and kind of try to find more new people that aren't already spoken for.
Yep.
So is it an industry that they change? Like, you think about actors and actresses and they have a manager and they have an agent and,
Definitely.
they switch around when they're not so happy.
Yes.
Or maybe they get fired or whatever. Is it same with the music industry and the people who are pitching their music? If they don't feel like someone's pitching them enough, then they might switch and come to you or...
Yeah. And not all deals are exclusive. A lot of them are non-exclusive, so they can go with multiple companies. Mm-hmm. It's kind of scary to go with too many because you don't want your stuff to be watered down and pitched too much. But yeah, it depends kind of if people own their publishing rights or not, and then if their deals are exclusive or not.
I see. And what skills do you possess that you feel like really help you?
Oh, my skills. My skills would probably be
a skills test,
Yes.
Test.
Oh man.
Test. God, I used to skip those days at school. No, I think
too.
my best skills for what we do is having a good ear for music. I think I've listened to music for so long that I can really tell when it's going to be something that is syncable and usable for a client. And another great skill would be the relationships I keep with those clients, having the face-to-face meetings, having drink, inviting them out to see our band playing at the Viper Room, and turning them into fans of the music, I think that would be a skill I have is keeping those relationships alive and healthy. And when they need music and when they need ideas, I get it to them as fast as I can. I want to be the first one in their inbox with ideas that they can listen to and with great music, not just filler. I want the killer. I'm going to send them the great music and really just keep them excited and keep them amped on gravel pit music and keep them coming back. And I think that would be my skill. Definitely.
Well, I would say also, you are a big risk taker and you have a lot of faith and belief in yourself. And it takes a lot of that whenever you start your own business. Mm-hmm. So maybe the fact that you had a parent that was an entrepreneur helped a bit. I think that helped me. My dad was always starting a business and so he didn't really think about that, oh my gosh, what happens if it fails? If it fails, then you start another business.
Right, exactly.
If it fails, you move forward and you do some, you go to plan B or you put a new arm out there and say, okay, look, I just grew an extra leg. So this is the direction, take a different path, whatever. So change course. So I think that is a really great skill that you have, that you were able to do that. Who inspires you? I'm going to ask you both that question. So do you want to go first, Kim?
She does. She wants to go first.
Oh, wow. Right on the spot there, huh? I said I'm organized, not creative. To be completely corny, my mom inspires me. Just raising me as a single mother, and she worked so hard to make sure that we were fed and we had a roof over our mouth. Or roof over our heads, not our mouth.
And could put
both,
food in our mouth.
Yeah. I saw a lot of determination and I just saw a strong woman influence. And so that to me is what truly has inspired me over my life.
Fantastic. Well, I don't think that's corny at all. I hope that's what my kids say about me.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I think that's really great. And to have such a wonderful role model.
Oh, yeah.
who showed you that, with determination and perseverance and hard work, you can do anything.
Yes.
And that's what you have to have as an entrepreneur.
Yes, of course. Yeah, she's great.
Definitely.
What do you say, Stacey?
I would also like to say that my parents inspire me, both of them, my mother and my father.
I'd just like to thank.
I would like to thank them, and I would like to thank the Grammy. And no, they're great people. They've always inspired me to be a hard worker and to really go after your dreams and what you want in life. And I definitely think I have, and they have been my inspiration to do so. On a not family level, I would have to say one inspiration I've had ever since I can remember her on TV would be Ellen. I love me some Ellen.
Yeah.
Back when Ellen had her Ellen, the TV show, the sitcom, I'd sit and watch her and thought she was so funny. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I want to be a comedian, but I'm not near enough funny to be a comedian, and to watch her to progress as a lesbian woman and really come out and full force to the world and
To own it.
Just own it. And she hasn't stopped. And you see her on her show and she's just who she is all the time. And everyone loves her, And so I think when I was going through college, I'd read books about her and I would watch her on TV. And, I thought, okay, I can do that too, So I definitely think Ellen would be a great inspiration.
Well, I think she is too, and you bring it up, more than just on a personal level. I mean, you look at the fact that she's very authentic, and as an entrepreneur, that's exactly what you have to be. You have to be very authentic, and she owns it. She owns what she says, and there are times when people are what she wants to do, and forget the naysayers, and there always are, that you can't do this, you shouldn't do this. And there were people who advised her not to come out on TV, and I think it was having the first kiss or something,
Exactly.
And there was a little bit of backlash. But on the other hand, you also get to find out who the supporters are, and you're targeting actually your ideal customers. You're really knowing who they are, because you can't please everybody. And the biggest lesson in the world with marketing, if you try and market to everyone, you market to no one.
Exactly.
So she knew who her audience was, no pun intended. But she knew who her audience was and owned it. And I think that confidence is what attracts people.
Definitely.
So those are some really good, not just the fact that she's very inspirational, but those are some really great qualities about her that help her to be successful and would help any entrepreneur, and she is one, any entrepreneur be successful as well. How do you motivate yourself? Because, when you've got a regular job, when you worked at the gravel pit, you had to show up you probably had to show up at 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
I did. I had to be there exactly at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I know how that construction stuff works.
It's gross.
So you had to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and if you didn't, you got fired. And at a certain time, they said, okay, go home. Now, you may have still gone home and listened to your music and watched your black and white TV and whatever else. But, you showed up at 6 and you went home at probably 3:30 or 4.
Or 6.
Oh, they worked you long hours then.
I had to make that money.
I'll tell you.
It's going to be a college student.
So what about now? I mean, there's not someone who's going to fire you necessarily. I mean, your clients maybe, but and especially the way the world works now, I mean, you can totally show up in your pajamas and like you said, you work out of your loft. So how do you get motivated to do this every day? What propels you? What motivates you?
I think just the sheer love of doing it. Like, I love my job, There's nothing better that I could think of doing. We get paid to listen to music all day, and it's fantastic. And loving to listen to it and loving to find the new acts is one thing. The love and the excitement you get when you see a song on TV, or you go to the movie and you hear your song in a big episode and you see your name in the credits. That's inspiring, and just life is inspiring, the dollar, the money makes it inspiring, because we have so many plans and things we want to do that we're hustling, we're working hard all day to make money. We have the world to see. We need some money to do it.
That's great. And you feel the same way, Kim?
Yeah, I also think too that having your own business, I think there's a certain sense of pride that you are doing this for yourself and you're making this happen completely on your own. You're not depending on someone else. And I think that pushes you and makes you have that drive to want to do it all the time. And I think a nice aspect for us is that we do it out of the loft. So if we need to take a 30-minute walk break, we can come right back, and it allows us
or come out for a radio show
and hang out with you. But yeah, if we hear the email, then we can just run over to the computer real quick. It's not like we're leaving an office and going home and our work's done. It's kind of like we're always able to, but it's still, I think it's just a sense of pride in having your own business.
Well, I love that you said that, especially the fact that you both talked about that you really love what you do.
Sure.
And obviously you enjoy it. And entrepreneurship is not easy, but I could do what I do 24/7 and sometimes do.
Yes.
And it sounds like you all do as well. So when you're off work, you're still working.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, you're always thinking and you're always, moving forward with what you're doing. And, well, how can I tweak this better? And, oh my gosh, I heard this music. I was wondering if you're ever able to turn it off, like, again, going back to watching movies, I know sometimes when you learn a little bit about the business and so now you know how things are done, you can't ever look at it exactly the same way. Are you actually able to sit down and really enjoy like a regular TV show without thinking, oh, I don't know if that music really worked there. Or, oh, there's my name. Oh, here comes my music. You know exactly when it's going to come up.
Yeah, honestly, no, you can't turn it off. You're constantly thinking, why wasn't my song in there? Mine was so much better than that one.
This is what I would have done.
Exactly. So you're always doing that, thinking, and you watch TV and movies completely different than ever, and you don't turn it off ever. And not even like owning your own business and working at home, you're constantly working 24/7. I think we've went silent for exactly 6 days in the entire time we've had the business. And Kim took me to Mexico last year for my birthday, and we said, okay, we're not changing our phone plans, we're not getting our international phone calling systems, we're just turning it off. And I think that's the only time we have not constantly been in connection with our computers and our phones and our music to try to make the next great pitch. So
probably while you were down there, though, you're listening to music, or you'd hear like a new band, or you heard somebody singing on the Mexican radio, or something.
We were getting business cards and CDs on the airplane to
and from. That's great. What is your proudest moment?
Proudest moment.
Is there something that stands out, like the first time when you think about like a restaurant, they put their for sale, they frame that dollar bill. Is there something that really stands out, like, I really knew I'd made it when I got this contract, or when I had so-and-so calling me up saying.
Right. I think my very, very first placement I got is still one of my very favorite moments. It was a band called Snow Patrol and the song Chasing Cars. And my very first placement I got when I moved out here was their song at the very, very end montage season of the first season of Grey's Anatomy. And they played the full song. It was like almost a 4-minute use. And I don't know if you guys remember that scene, but there so many things going on. I forget the guy, he was dying in bed, and
that's every episode. I
know, right? The boyfriend was dying. They were having a big party. I don't know, but they played "Chasing Cars" by Snow Patrol, and it was so epic. I still think it's one of my very favorite TV moments with the song, and not just because I did it, but just because the people at Chop Shop, Alex Pasofis is a supervisor for that show. She trusted in the song that I sent her, and she got it to stick, and the way they used it was perfect. And I think it's so epic, and it stands out in my mind to this day of great song uses in TV. So that was definitely a proud moment for sure. A couple of years ago, we got a American Idol promo with a band that nobody knew about, really, Imagine Dragons, and we got their song picked up by American Idol. And nobody knew who they were then, but 2 weeks later, they got picked up by Universal and got a record deal, and now they are one of the biggest bands in the world. They're touring all over. We're going to go see them. Gives me chill
bumps.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to go see them on Valentine's Day, so we're still in contact with them. They're at where are they playing? Forum. They're playing at the Forum.
Fun.
with Naked and Famous and Nika Vega.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Should be
that must make you proud. I can see why.
Yeah, those are some fun, proud moments for sure. It's fun getting to take a band that nobody knows, but you know is amazing, and people should know, and you want them to know, and you get them recognized, and they do get recognized, and take their career and their lives to a whole different level, and they're still very appreciative of it. That's why we get to go to their shows and stuff. They let us know when they're in town, get us on our guest list, and we can go hang out with them and go see the show. So they're very great people. All these artists that we work with are great people, not just great artists, and they really are thankful for what we can all do for each other. So.
Well, that's really what it's all about, and it's not just selling somebody on a band. It's really helping to make, there's so many moving parts, but it's really helping to make that show be, so much more than it could be. And then helping that band or that musician to even recognize their full potential and knowing that you kind of you're a great connector.
Yes.
And that's a really, really important part. I always forget because I get caught up in what you all are saying, but if anybody wants to call in, any of our listeners, the number's 1-800-893-9562. We'd love to have you call. And if you have any questions for me or Stacy or Kim, we'll try and answer it.
Yes, we will.
To the best of our ability. Were there naysayers when you were along the way? Do you have people say, you really can't do this, or why don't you go out and get a real job, or or anything like that? But it sounds like you've been very successful.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily naysayers. I think one of the biggest hurdles in this industry and when starting is I started so young. I started out of college at 22, and being a female, I think when I came to the business, it was a man's game. There weren't too many girls doing what we do, and definitely not 22-year-olds. And so I love being 30 now. So getting a little more respect for not looking like a 12-year-old little girl saying, I think you should use this song and listen to me. So that was definitely no naysayers. There haven't been any naysayers, but there's been some hurdles in that retrospect of getting to climb over. So, but I think we've never let it stand in our way, and just always wanted to prove them wrong and just work hard. So.
Good. Yeah, that's what it takes. So would you say that was some of the biggest challenges that you faced? Was that in doing this business?
Yeah, I think so. There's not really too many challenges. I think one of the biggest challenges is just getting your music actually licensed. That'd probably be the biggest challenge in what we do, is that you can feel so strongly about your music and what you're sending out and know that it'll be great. And it can go on to the next person, which is a supervisor, and they can think it's great, and they'll go up to another person who's the director or the producer, and it takes so many different hands and ears and minds that it has to go through before they actually pick a song, that it's just kind of out of your hands. Once you let it go, you can stay on top of it and make sure it's getting pushed through properly. But once it leaves our gates, it's into somebody else's hands, and you just kind of have to sit and play the waiting game. So the waiting game is horrible.
Is it a long process? Is it a day or a week, a month, a year, or what?
I guess it just depends on what the project is. A lot of TV and commercials move a lot faster than films, so everybody seems to need their ideas immediately. It's always ASAP, so we hurry and get them ideas over within a few hours, and then you can wait till the next day, or you can wait a few months, before they decide. If it's a film, they usually license much later after you've pitched, and TV, it's much, much quicker. But then the paying out process is probably the worst headache, because everybody has to wait till the end of the season or the end of the film production, and music is always the last thing to get paid out. So that's one thing we definitely had to get accustomed to, is how to budget and manage our money, knowing that we aren't going to get paid on something we place today until 6 months down the road or so.
Well, I was just going to say, it sounds like you're wearing so many hats.
Yeah.
And you said it's just the two of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course you don't want to bring in, but you've got 70 artists, and you've got you've got to research.
Yeah.
You've got to go out there, and even though now that you've built up a great clientele and you've got people coming to you, you also have to keep track, and still you want to build new clients, I would imagine, and you're constantly looking for the music, and then you've got to figure out, well, what are these different projects that it can go into, and like I said, you've got to budget your money, so that takes a while, and then make sure you actually did get paid.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because there's always a lot of follow up. I don't care what business you're in, to make sure that you're
that
getting
they're paying you.
Yeah, and you're the bookkeeper, and you're the. So how do you manage all that? Well, organization helps, but
Yeah.
do you? And I think that's important for entrepreneurs to know. I mean, some of it maybe you farm out, some of it, even though you're wearing the hat, whether it's hiring a bookkeeper or hiring someone in some of other businesses, like maybe hiring a virtual assistant or hiring someone else to come in and help with little things, special projects. So how do you wear all the hats? Even between the two of you, you're busy 24/7.
I think Stacy does an amazing job with wearing a ton of hats.
I love hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got one
Always.
today.
I think she keeps, like she said, like months can go by and she hasn't heard anything. She still remembers to check in with the supervisor, check in with whoever she pitched the music to. And I think the biggest thing that has helped us working together is just constantly communicating with each other. Because what she doesn't remember, I'll remember. What I don't maybe know about the industry yet, or what I don't remember, then Stacy will pick up, and lots of spreadsheets as well.
Spreadsheets are
That Excel.
yes, they're the gold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like there's always little things to fill the day. So if maybe a pitch isn't coming through, it's just doing those little things throughout the day to keep organized, to go back thoroughly and check spreadsheets, to kind of go back through her emails and see who she's pitched to. Or there's just so many little things that can make up a day that do constantly keep you busy in this business.
Sure. No, and I'm even thinking about, so you pitch something today. And I find this in my own business. I talk to someone today and we have a great conversation. And then maybe I don't hear from them. Maybe it's not the right time for them to come in and take a workshop or whatever the case may be. And then about 5 months later, they call me and you're kind of scratching your head. So maybe it's a good thing you have that great memory, because you're going, okay, yeah, what do we talk about? What is your business? So same kind of thing with a project. So maybe you're pitching something for this new love story or something, and then, like I said, nothing happens for a few months, and then they come in and they go, oh yeah, we're ready to go. And are you kind of going back, going, okay, wait, what was that song we?
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's so much out there that will kind of spark something in your mind, whether it's you're watching a TV show thinking about, oh, well, that was a good love scene, and thinking, oh my gosh, what about the love scene that we were working on? Or there's just so much, I think, awareness that you have to have all the time.
So how do you find all of the energy, do
Coffee.
you
Lots of coffee.
Okay, lots of caffeine. That's what helps. Oh, that's good. It sounds very, very exciting what you're doing, and I love that you're taking on all of the challenges and managing, putting those systems in place that will enable you to stay on top of it, because especially when you're very creative, you want to push some of that aside and not pay attention to it. Sounds like you all are really a great balance.
Yes.
And that comes into, a lot of times, it's great because your partners, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, wife, whatever, or just best friends or something. And so knowing that having a business partner too, that complements, you all complement each other so well, just from in my conversation with you, and that's really important.
Yeah.
And did you think about that whenever you started this business? Did you sit down and did you just say, okay, let's just do this because we're both enthusiastic? Or did you sit down and say, all right, what are some of the problems that might come up? How do we handle this? Look, you have these strengths, I have these strengths. This is how we can work best together.
I think not really.
No, we really didn't. We just decided let's do it, like it's something that I always wanted to have my own music publishing company, and so it was the next step when we were going to start it. And as it got going and I was doing all the things I loved, and I remember there's all the other things part of the job that I don't love to do that she actually loves to do. So like all the research and everything, we work out great together. We're a great team.
That's awesome. You got really, really lucky,
Yeah, big blessing.
That's awesome. And did you put together, I wanted to ask this earlier and I forgot, but did you put together a business plan before you got started?
No business.
Well, we talked about it, but no, we didn't. We have our little who we are and what we do, little blurb on our website, and that's about as much mission statement and business plan as we have.
I think there was a lot of confidence too with Stacy in this business, just because she had already built such a name for herself as Stacy Coleman. So when she put out that huge blast of emails, I'm going on my own as Gravel Pit, everyone thought, okay, I have to change the name of who I'm attributing to the music, but everyone still knew her as Stacy Coleman and still had all those relationships that she had built over the years. So
definitely, yeah, it was a pretty seamless jump over into having our own business. It was just a new name on the bottom
getting
of my
new
email
checks
signature.
And, yeah, exactly. No, I think that's great. What's been the biggest surprise?
I think for me, it's just doing what we want to do as it comes along. We're both not big planners in a day-to-day life, and it's that we can take this business if we want on the road. So we've been able to travel still, but always be working. And I think it's just a surprise also at the success we've had in just a year and a half.
Definitely.
And keeping our heads afloat pretty well, you know?
Well, your passion for what you do and the fact that you had the knowledge, you know how it works, and that's the biggest thing. You know, sometimes it's okay totally to jump into a business that you have absolutely no idea about. I won't say no idea, but it's okay to do that, but you still have to go back and learn certain things about it. Like, how do you build those relationships? You know you need to build relationships, but how do you? And you having a lot of these contacts and knowing how that works is super important. But your passion for what you do is super clear. I mean, you all almost get giggly whenever you're talking about the music and just the fact that, oh, I discovered somebody new, or I got to find somebody new. I mean, it sounds very exciting to me. But you can tell how exciting it is to you all as well. And I think that's really, really cool.
Does not feel like work half the time, which is
not.
I think the best thing about having this business and being in this business is it doesn't feel like a job. It feels more like a passion that is our job.
Yeah.
Yep. And I learned on Oprah when I was a kid that if you could find your hobby and turn it into a business, that's how you will always be happy. Thank you, Oprah.
So true. So would that be your motto?
I think so. Yeah. Find something you love to do and you love to spend all your time and efforts into it. And if you can turn it into something you can make money doing, then you're going to be happy. You're going to love exactly what you're doing every single day, all day long, and you're going to be able to survive doing it.
Well, we have a lot to thank Oprah and Ellen for. I mean, they're certainly, they really come up with some really great advice and just the way they live their life going for it. And sometimes you just have to take that leap, right away. So I think it actually doesn't surprise me at all that you all have been successful, especially whenever you own it the way that you all do. Do you have a big surprise that like a biggest surprise for you?
I don't think I can think of a surprise. I was going to say kind of the success too. I didn't have any question that we were going to be successful, but it's just, I think since it is our own company and business now, we've been more successful than ever. You know what I mean? So knowing like the history of the placements and books and stuff from the last companies, like we're really doing better than ever, and all within a year and a half's time. And I knew it was going to be a successful company. I'm really kind of surprised that it happened right out the gate, and it can only go up from here, obviously, but I'm really excited how speedy it was.
Well, I like, too, that I do think it's important to plan sometimes, and especially if you have no idea where you're going, then you might not end up where you want to be. But in a way, you did have a plan. You totally had this vision of, I want to get as many shows as I can. Sure. I want to bring on these really great, amazing bands and artists and different musicians. And I want to focus on these three areas. And even if you didn't go through and necessarily write it down, you sort of had a vision of what you wanted. But on the other hand, sometimes plans can be too strict. Yep. And it gives you just these tunnel vision where you're just kind of moving forward and you're not really looking at all these other opportunities.
Right.
And we talked about the fact that that you are very open, that you are very flexible. And if something comes up, and especially in this kind of business, being open up to finding a new artist, finding a new band, to finding a new project that maybe you hadn't thought about, or looking outside the box of how can we get more music in the ears of more and more people, and getting them to sit up and take notice. And even if it's just like somebody like me who noticed those 2 scenes last night in The Bachelor, where I never noticed them before. I mean, it really kind of made me want to go back and say, have they been doing this all along, or did they just do it?
But
all of a sudden, I mean, I really had, and I'm not saying they didn't ever have music, but there were 2 specific scenes that felt like this is a brand new way they're taking this show.
Yeah.
It's like just opening up those doors for even more and more people to enjoy music and appreciate the contribution that it makes to a TV show or movie or trailer or something. It's time for us to go. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. The time ran out before I could really think about it. This has been so fun and exciting.
Super fun. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Oh, okay. And you can also give out your information. Again, we've been talking to Stacy and Kim, Gravel Pit Music. Why don't you give your websites?
Yeah, gravelpitmusic.com. You can go on there, check out the bands that we have, some of the shows and movies we've been in, and contact us if you want to. We have a contact page on there.
Great. Awesome. Well, and how do they, do you want to give your email too, or it's on your website?
It's all on the website there.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.